So welcome to this Friday Focus. This is going to be a slightly different one. I've got a co here who's going to actually take us through a presentation on a VK summer campaign, which is a very, very interesting one that is using a host of sort of digital marketing techniques, but predominantly the influencers and Instagram. So this is going to be something which I think is going to be a big interest to a lot of people. So you might not be in a consumer-facing brand role, but a lot of the stuff that we're going to be hearing in this short presentation, hopefully will be giving you some ideas that you can take away. And that's really the whole idea of Friday Focus. If you can see or hear one thing that you take away and then practice, that tends to be a nice way of sort of getting some value from this time. So I'm going to put my microphone on mute and let's hear about the campaign.
So basically, I started working for VK, World Global Brands, at the start of May. So as I joined, I didn't really have experience working in a marketing department. I got put on the VK team where I had to essentially plan a summer campaign. So the first week or two I spent reflecting on what they've done in the previous 3 years. And I realized they've used a very traditional route of using influencers that people of an older generation maybe may use compared to VK's 18 to 24 target market. So I wanted to primarily work on TikTok and Instagram for this campaign. So before lockdown, the original campaign they had was a VK Payday, where basically if you buy a mix pack, you could get £250 in cash. The only issues was obviously lockdown ruined the campaign towards the end. It was only a month in when lockdown kicked in, making people panic buy stuff. And obviously you're not really going to care about a campaign when there's a global pandemic going off. All the money was won within a month and a half, 2 months of the actual lockdown. So every other pack we had printed was basically essentially worthless and just a standard mix pack. To improve on this campaign, what I want to do is make it last awesome along and make it memorable. Because even people who work in the marketing department don't really remember this campaign that I'm talking about now. So to segue between the campaigns, obviously we had a massive overhaul of the Payday mix packs remaining due to the lockdown. So we had to stagger this summer campaign. So we went from the Payday to a normal mix pack for a couple of months, and then we decided to bring out the summer pack on the 20th of May, I believe it was. So it was literally 10 days after I started working on the campaign. So the goals for the new campaign, it was mainly a brand awareness one. So we want brand awareness, want to make people aware of the new product we're selling because it's a limited edition. We made a new flavor just for the pack. Obviously, you can never guarantee if it's going to stay or not. That was the entire selling point. And then we also wanted to grow our email marketing department. So what we decided to do was also run essentially a battle of the summer is what we called it, a giveaway where you can win 10 cases of either watermelon or raspberry and peach, depending on which one you vote for on the site. How will I achieve what I wanted to do? So as I said, they used to do the very traditional where they use old Love Island stars or people off of different TV shows such as The Circle. I wanted to take risks with influencers, especially ones that wouldn't cost a lot, or micro influencers, or ones that I could get gifted. I also want to stagger my PR waves. I decided to send out 3 waves of boxes, so it was constant feeding back into the campaign. So we had constant recognition within different platforms, mainly Instagram. How do I get there? Obviously, we want to send PR boxes in waves, use TikTok influencers, source TikTok influencers through Instagram though, due to even though I'm only 20, I've got no clue how TikTok works. It's something that even goes past me. So I wanted to use Instagram to find the TikTokers. I'll get more into how I did that later. So primarily with my lack of TikTok, I had to spend like a week just trying to figure out how it works, which I found out the FYP, which is the For You page or section where you primarily find people recommended towards you. So if you watch a load of makeup ones, you'll see a load of makeup. If you watch pet videos, you'll see pet videos in there. And then also using hashtags like you do on Twitter. So when I was planning how I want to set out the campaign and how I was going to efficiently target advertise everything we wanted to work for, in the PR boxes, I decided to have a press release. It's quite a standard thing that we do, except this time I decided to put a QR code on, which would take you to the Battle of Summer giveaway, which in essence helped us grow our email listings massively. So basically, when the influencer opens the box, the press release is obviously the thing that sticks out, which, as you can see in the bottom here, is the thing that sticks out and they show to their audience / followage. Obviously, the front is just a very basic ad campaign you'd see on like a bus stop in traditional marketing, or just it could be used as just a still imagery on different feeds. And then on the back, it has all the information that you need. This is where it took the QR code, which is, I think we still have it going on right now. It's very out there and VK brand-like. It may look tacky, but that's kind of what VK is about. So all you have to do is put your full name, your address, which is obviously where we get the email listings from, and then you choose your favorite flavor. And then there's 2 tick boxes. This one is obviously just enter the campaign. And if we have 2, it's a marketing strategy to have 2 tick boxes, so people just tick and tick without reading, because this one says I'd like to opt in to get emails. If we literally had if we didn't have to accept the terms and conditions and that was pre-ticked, and people just read this, they wouldn't tick it, because obviously nobody wants to be spammed by emails, but at least most people don't, unless it's actually a brand they care about. So by having 2 ticks, they're just going to tick and tick after reading the terms and conditions, because there's usually one underneath it anyway under most sorts of internal agreements. What was in the box? So we had a 70 centiliter VK watermelon, 70 centiliter raspberry and peach, which was the new flavor, the press release on the top, and some exclusive VK merch to make the influencers want to actually partake in our campaign. We also use very colourful packing peanuts to make it stand out on stories and feeds, since obviously Instagram's a very feed-based game, and if it doesn't stand out, people are just going to scroll past without looking. So going back to how I source TikTokers through Instagram, it's very easy to abuse Instagram's algorithm due to the fact that they have a suggested for you category. So basically what you do is, Sammy Gray is just a TikToker who's now got 1.7. Originally when I started sourcing him, he had 1.4. So I found him on the Instagram Explore feed. From there, I clicked on his profile, asked him if he wants to work with us, and then I went under the suggested for you. As you can see, these 4 out of 5 are all TikTokers. TikTok, it usually has around, I can see a spelling, but we move a spelling it. It usually has a suggested of 60% of people that you actually want. So TikTokers in this instance, if you're looking at sports pages, say instead of Sammy Gray was a sports page here, the 60 to 56% would be a sports page, and 40% is verified accounts, with about 1 to 2% being just random suggested accounts. Say it's a personal account, you might see some of your friends on there that you don't follow. But due to obviously VK being the business account, we don't really have it connected to any of accounts, so we can abuse this very well. This strategy does depend on the time of day though, for some reason. I find it works better in the afternoon, because in the morning it just tends to be verified accounts, and I think it's due to the fact that people haven't really posted at 9-10 o'clock. So it just depends what time you want to try and source people. So when I was planning the campaign, I really had to plan around looking for fresh influencers to use towards the afternoon after people had posted. What was the plan in 5 bullet points? Outsource 34 influencers, because obviously not everyone's going to want to partake with us. Get relevant data such as engagement percentage, followage, and the previous promos if they have done any. Peer review, basically get some people on the team to look at the influencers, see if they're a fan of them or not. Reassess influencers if needed. Luckily that didn't need to happen, so we was able to cut on with the campaign very swiftly. And then reach out to the influencers and begin collecting a list of people who want to be a part of our campaign. So executing the plan. This was a base spreadsheet. It may look very messy because it's quite messy, but obviously because I've put it together, I don't understand what it looks like. On the first column, it's just the influencer's name. It's their Instagram handle. The main platform we have, as you can see, about 50% is mainly TikTokers, and the rest are just some others that I decided would be good fit. The age and gender, so we have a diverse cast of influencers. How many followers they have. The average like per 3, so you just go on their profile, look at the past 3 posts, and add up and divide by 3. The average engagement, which you figure out from the average likes, and the previous promos if they did any. The previous promos is a massive part to see if their followers actually engage with the promos they have. But most of the time they do on a story, so you can't really view, but if it's on the feed, it is very useful. For example, Manrika Bakari, we could see that she was doing promos, but she had very low engagements on her promos, so we decided not to work with her, because she wouldn't have been a gifted or micro influencer, considering she has 120k, and she has been on a TV show. I can't think what it is off the top of my head. So the socials joined the campaign were very simple. This was what they look like. We set up a Battle of Summer story and the Raspberry and Peach story. as the stories or highlights tend to get a lot of views, and we primarily just pushed it through with various photo shoots, making sure people knew about the new flavour and the new campaign, but also sprinkling in giveaways and cocktail videos, so the feed looks refreshing and what we wasn't just forcing it down people's throats every day. This is the coverage we received. Obviously, a lot of them were story, but in the contract we had story or feed, and obviously people are going to opt for the story as it's gone after 24 hours, but some people also did put on the highlights for us, which was good. Everyone that we have covered so far is completely free as well, other than the price of the box, which we'll get to later. As you can see, they all did the PR press releases. Some of them obviously tagged us and used the hashtag #WeAreSummer, which is what we requested, so we could easily go back to just search hashtag #WeAreSummer and see how many people and see if anybody else has jumped in on the hashtag with us. Obviously, you're always going to have some people that don't get back to you. So I think it was about 6 to 7% of the influencers we sent to didn't give any coverage, but there's various reasons which we'll get into later. Again, on your story, this is very colourful, so you'll opt to stay on this compared to if we just sent white peanuts or if it's just complete of the same colour. Obviously, the press release is on the top again, so that's the first thing they look at. This is an example of some of the influencers we actually worked with. The biggest one is Max Bailage, if anybody knows who he is. He's someone I didn't know existed till about 2 months ago, and he's done absolute God's work for this campaign, I'll be honest. Again, as you can see, this isn't the entire list, but at least 60% of these were TikTokers, as I wanted to primarily push for TikTok and modernize our marketing strategies. These are the paid influencers who we just tend to get a wider spread of the campaign, as they have mass followings and they're always going to be in people's explore and suggest a few pages. So involving them as an ad, people just don't tend to, people are aware now, like, no, we're not stupid anymore. It's not like 2010 when you just look at an ad and not realize it was an ad and still view and like it. So we decided to partake the influencers and make them a part of the Battle of Summer campaign. As you can see, Olivia here was part of the Watermelon, like Team Watermelon campaign that we had. And then Nathan here was the counterpart to her and was part of the Raspberry and Peach, which is also the new flavour. So the campaign reflection is currently reached more than 2 million people, which is from gifted influencers alone, which is massive. Over 50% of the influencers I used were TikTokers. We boosted VK's email marketing lists, which was another, as it was about 30% of the point of this campaign. We created hype for the new website and Battle of Summer giveaway. We managed to completely sell out of all summer mix pack in every retail on our e-commerce store before it even hit August. I think it was about 20th, 25th of July by the time we sold out. And only 3 out of the 23 influencers we sent to didn't post coverage. Did TikTok sourcing pay off? It did in a massive way. As I said earlier, Max Bailage, he has 1.2 million followers. I managed to work with him for free after just a bit of negotiating. At the time when I started working with him, he was just shy of 1 million. So within the 2 weeks, 3 weeks that I actually sent him the parcel and he received it, and he came up with concepts for the videos, he grew to about 20% of what he was before. So he posted on his Instagram story and he also posted on his TikTok. So obviously from gifting him some drinks, we managed to get 270k views. It's probably more than that by now. This is about 2-3 weeks old. 270k views for free, which is essentially free promo for him literally using our drinks in his day-to-day life and in a TikTok video. And then he also continued to use our one of our drinks that he had left over, which achieved 570k just in another video. And it's very simple. Obviously, the VK isn't pointed to the logo, but it's a very the VK bottle is very obvious to notice. Like in a club, it's before I even worked for VK, it was one of the first things I noticed. It's a very predominant bottle within the industry, so even though the VK isn't there, you can still tell by the neck and the colouring, because it's VK is essentially just neon drinks that we sell. So now we're going to do the boring bit, which is basically figuring out if it was a successful campaign or not. So at the time, Max's followers were 42,000. We do the rule of three, which is essentially assuming a third of your viewers see it. We run this test by researching into it and posting on my own Instagram of about a third of my followers looking at my story. So we're going to assume it's 14,000. TikTok views need to be added up. That's 849,000. Add them together. That's 863. The cost of the PR box was about £20, including postage and shipping. So to figure out CPM, you do the price of whatever you paid, how many views it got, and then you times it by 1,000, which was 0.023 CPM, which is insanely low. Our average CPM is usually 0.8, 0.9p. So to get something less than a penny is insanely good. What would I do if I could change it again? So make sure the influencers don't have busy schedules coming up, because obviously 3 of them didn't post. It could be for different reasons. One of the influencers who I sourced out to and was really interested in work with, and I was actually quite excited when he agreed to work with us, went from 23,000 followers to managing to perform in music festivals this summer within 2 to 3 months, which is just something you can't predict. Due to just starting, obviously, I had a very limited time frame to expose to the business who I'll be working with, how big the scale would be. So for budgeting purposes of the campaigns, and then obviously we sold out of mix packs really early on. Like we didn't even get into the second month of summer by the time we'd sold out of the mix packs. So that's it. The 23rd of July is when we sold out. So for the VK Instagram feed, we still had a load of content left over that literally can't be used because it's related to the VK Summer Mix Pack. So in essence, it's going to waste, but at the end of the day, we did our job and sold the mix pack, which is better than not selling it and having it left over at Christmas. Was it a success? Overall, I'd say it was a massive success. And that is, in essence, the reflection for my campaign.
Wow. I mean, that is just, and I'm sure everybody listening and watching this will just agree that what a campaign and what a set of tips. Thank you so much for sharing that with us, because what a set of tips and ideas and little kind of sneak things. I mean, that suggested for you tip could fundamentally change everybody who's watching this and thinking, how could I either use Instagram or Facebook or TikTok or any other kind of influencer related technology to run and or integrate within my campaign? How would I do it? And I think there in one, you've given us a super clear tip of actually how you do your research, because I know from feedback, a lot of people have said, well, I don't know where to start. I don't know how I would find people or a group of sort of influencers or journalists, or whatever industry that you're in. It could be just influential people within your industry rather than say TikTokers. Doesn't really matter. It's the process of actually doing your background research. And I think what we've heard there is that the suggested for you facility means that what you can do is you can actually use the algorithms almost back in reverse, because what the likes of Instagram are trying to do for you is they're trying to present you with stuff that's going to be useful for you, either as a business or as a consumer. And what we're doing here is we're actually using that algorithm in reverse. So we're actually using it for our own benefit rather than it being used by the social network. And then all of those other tools and tips and ideas that Code shared with us. I mean, it is an absolutely brilliant campaign. I mean, clearly the numbers are so successful, but for me, the really interesting thing is just the process that you've taken us through. And in terms of that kind of end-to-end, step-by-step checklist of things that you can do to both keep control, but also really enjoy the experience. There was some stuff there. Clearly, you've built relationships where you can go back to these other people, these influencers, and actually potentially influence and use them again, in future campaigns. So the actual template framework that you've created there is just so strong. So if you've listened to this or watched this, and you think that you'd be looking to do something, what I would suggest you do is almost rewatch that presentation from Code, because it's something that will give you that end-to-end process of how you can do this. And for lots of us starting out in using things like Instagram and or TikTok within our campaigns, it's often just making those first steps. It's getting started, which is the hardest thing. And for me, that kind of golden moment where suddenly it was like, suggested for you, there's the answer, because that's your access point into who and where you can actually use these campaigns. It's very easy to just do boosted content, but as Cove's explained, that's just one thing in the mix. They're getting some real CPM results, and those results are just phenomenal. Getting that kind of result at the end of a campaign like that is just off the scale good. So think beyond just doing advertising, think beyond just organic content. This is really deep dive campaign creation. So thank you again so much for sharing that with us, Co. I'm sure everybody's found that a really, really great exercise and a slightly different way of doing Friday Focus this week.